Billy had been nervous on his first day. The nerves, though, weren't because of the new job itself, but because of the pressure weighing on him. His wife, Sarah, had been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, and her treatment was expensive. Billy needed money, and this new job, though far from glamorous, was his last chance to make ends meet. The store he worked at was small but busy, located on the outskirts of the city, near an industrial area. His manager, a grizzled 70-year-old man named Mr. Mitchell, was the kind of person who had seen everything, and Billy felt the weight of his expectations from the moment he walked in. The morning had gone by relatively smoothly. Billy's hands were trembling a bit as he carefully stacked products on shelves, trying his best to learn the store layout and make himself useful. Mr. Mitchell wandered around the store checking on Billy's progress, occasionally offering gruff words of advice. Then a well-dressed man in a sharply tailored suit came into the store. He walked up to the checkout counter holding a toy in a box marked Limited Edition. Billy could tell from his sharp posture and the expensive cologne he wore that he was a man of means, the type who didn't like to waste time. "Excuse me," the man said, holding up the box. "Can you tell me how much this costs? I left my glasses at the office and can't quite make out the price." Billy was just about to respond when Mr. Mitchell, who had been nearby, stepped in and gave a smooth smile. "Of course, sir," Mr. Mitchell said, glancing at the box. "That toy is $800. Billy's eyes widened. He had been the one to place the toy on the shelf earlier that morning, and he knew the price was $200. It made no sense to him why Mr. Mitchell would say it was $800. He swallowed his surprise and walked over to the display to confirm the price. He was right. The toy cost $200. He was confused, but he also felt a sense of urgency. He couldn't stand by while a customer was being deceived, not when he needed this job so badly. He hesitated for only a moment before he approached Mr. Mitchell. "Excuse me, sir," Billy said, his voice quiet but firm. "I think there's been a mistake. The toy is $200, not $800. Mr. Mitchell's expression darkened instantly. The manager glared at Billy, his eyes narrowing with irritation. "What did you say?" Mr. Mitchell growled, his voice rising. "The toy costs $800. It's a limited edition." "Don't question me." Billy's heart raced. He had just gotten this job, and already things were going south, but there was no way he could let this lie slide. "Sir," Billy started again, "I'm sure it's $200. I just set the toys up." Mr. Mitchell's face went red. He turned to the customer, quickly brushing Billy aside. "Don't listen to him," he said. "The kid's new. He doesn't know anything about this store. Trust me, it's $800. I've been working here for years." Billy stood there, his mind racing. He knew he was right, but he also knew Mr. Mitchell was the manager, and if he was going to keep his job, he couldn't openly defy him. But he couldn't stand there and watch the customer be scammed. Billy's voice shook as he spoke again. "I'm sorry, sir, but I think the manager is mistaken. The toy is marked $200. It's not part of the limited edition collection." The customer hesitated, looking between Billy and Mr. Mitchell, uncertainty in his eyes. Billy tried his best to stay calm, but the tension in the air was thick. Mr. Mitchell's patience snapped. "Enough! I don't need this from you. Not on your first day," he shouted. "You think you know more than me? You're fired. Get out of my store." Billy's heart sank. He hadn't meant to cause trouble. He just wanted to do the right thing, but now his life was falling apart. His wife was sick and needed surgery, and now he had lost the only job that could help pay for it. "Please don't fire me," Billy pleaded, stepping forward. "I need this job. My wife, she needs treatment. Please don't do this." But Mr. Mitchell's expression didn't change. "I don't care about your wife. Get out before I call security." Billy stood frozen for a moment, stunned by the harshness of the manager's words. He knew he couldn't afford to lose this job, but there was nothing more he could do. With a sinking heart, he grabbed his things and left the store, the sound of the door slamming shut behind him echoing in his ears. He stood on the sidewalk, his breath shallow and his mind a whirlpool of thoughts. How would he tell Sarah? How would he pay for her surgery? He wandered through the street, the cold air biting at his skin as he passed stores with "We're hiring" signs plastered on their windows. But every door he tried opened only to disappointment. No one wanted to hire him. That night, when he got home, his heart felt heavy with dread. He checked the mailbox, praying for some good news. He pulled out a thick brown envelope, the words "To Billy" scrawled across it in bold letters. There was no return address, but something about it made his pulse pulse quickened. Billy tore it open, and inside, he found a large wad of cash, $70,000 in total. He stared at the money in shock. There was a note attached to the cash. "This is for your wife's treatment. It's all yours. But there's more to be had. You have the golden opportunity to earn $500,000 more. Come to the park tonight at midnight. Come alone." Billy blinked, unable to believe what he was reading. This had to be a mistake, or worse, some kind of scam. But then he remembered his wife's condition. She needed the surgery now, and if this was real, it was the answer to his prayers. But something still felt off. Who would do something like this for a stranger? He couldn't let it go. There was no way he could let Sarah suffer because of his pride or skepticism. He had to take a chance. Billy arrived at the park at exactly midnight. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a cold glow over the empty pathways. His heart pounded in his chest. He looked around but saw no one. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, a set of headlights illuminated the park entrance. He squinted into the light, trying to make out who was driving. But before he could react, a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in a dark hoodie and wearing a mask. Billy froze. The man grabbed him from behind and shoved a black sack over his head. "Let go of me!" Billy shouted, struggling to break free. But it was no use. He was dragged into a van, his hands held tightly by the masked figures. His mind raced as the vehicle started moving. He had no idea where they were taking him, but he knew he had to survive. Whatever this was, it wasn't going to end well if he didn't play along. The van stopped after what felt like hours, and Billy was pulled out roughly. His head spun from the disorientation, but he was led into a cold, dimly lit building. As the bag was removed from his head, he saw a group of people standing in the room, each of them looking just as confused and terrified as he was. The place looked like an old, abandoned factory. A voice came through a speaker mounted on the wall. "You all find yourselves in a dire situation," the voice said. "You need money, and you've been chosen for a special game. You will compete for survival. The first task begins soon. Put on your uniforms and prepare yourself." Billy's heart dropped. This was no game. This was something far worse, and he had no choice but to participate if he wanted to survive. As hours passed, Billy realized the full horror of his situation. 9 other people were with him, all locked in this strange place, and none of them knew how to escape. All they could do was wait for the next task. When it came, they would be forced to play. The first task was brutal, a race to find the right key to unlock their restraints. Billy's hands shook as he grabbed at the keys, trying to find the one that would free him. Time was running out, and the pressure was suffocating. But Billy couldn't give up, not now. Not when Sarah's life depended on him. One by one, people were freed, but Billy stayed behind to help an older man and a woman. They had no time to waste, and in the last moments, Billy found the key that freed him. But when he turned around, he saw that the woman had been shot. Chaos broke out, and panic filled the room. Billy's mind raced. He had to escape. He had to survive. But the game was only beginning, and the stakes were higher than he could ever imagine. He had no idea what would happen next, but he knew one thing for sure: there was no going back. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more survival story. The game is only beginning, and we all need to stay ahead.